The breaking point came 3 weeks later. He had supposedly had a particularly rough treatment. He was lying on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, looking frail in a way that would have broken me completely a month earlier. I was bringing him ginger ale and saltines when he looked up at me with those exhausted eyes and said my name in that thin, weakened voice. "Bryn, sit please. Sit please." I sat on the edge of the coffee table facing him. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he said, "and talking to a therapist the oncology group set me up with." "That's good, honey. It's good to talk." "It is. And it's helped me see things clearly." He reached for my hand. His fingers felt cold, slightly damp. "I love you, Bryn, more than anything. That's why I have to do this." A heavy block of ice formed in the center of my chest. "Do what?" "I want a divorce." The words did not sound real. They hung in the room with surgical precision, clean and fatal. All sound vanished for a moment except the dull pounding of my pulse in my ears. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. "I've spoken to a lawyer," he continued, his face arranged in that practiced sorrow. "We can do it fast, uncontested. I've had papers drawn up. I'll take on all the debt, the medical bills, everything. You walk away clean. The condo is in my name anyway, from before. You can just go start over. Find someone who can give you the life you deserve. Have a family. All the things I'm going to rob you of." It was a perfect performance. The noble, dying husband sacrificing his final days to set his wife free. And in that moment, staring into his wet, carefully pleading eyes, I knew with a certainty colder than any diagnosis that it was all a lie. The weight loss, probably a crash diet. The fatigue, probably late nights planning his new life. The chemo appointments, rendezvous, the hospital summaries on the tablet, forgeries. My husband did not have cancer. He had a mistress. And he was using the cruelest ruse imaginable to get rid of me. A white-hot rage surged through me, so intense it burned away the last of my grief, my confusion, my love. What remained was something hard and clear, and terrifyingly calm. I took that rage and turned it into the only weapon that could match his. Performance. My chin trembled, my eyes filled. The tears that spilled were real, but not for the reasons he thought. They were tears of betrayal, not loss. A sob tore out of me. "No, Mark, no, please don't do this. I can't lose you and our marriage. I can't." I collapsed forward, burying my face against his knees, my shoulders shaking. He stroked my hair with a tenderness that made my skin crawl. "Shh, baby. It's for the best. It's the only way I can protect you. Please do this for me. Do this last thing for me. Let me go." I looked up at him through blurred vision and let him see exactly what he wanted. A heartbroken, defeated woman. "I can't think," I whispered. "I can't." "You don't have to think," he said softly. "Just sign the papers. Set us both free." I hid my face against him again so he could not see the expression I could no longer quite control. The grief was an act now, the certainty was not. "Okay, Mark," I thought. "You want a performance? You want me to set you free? Let's see how you like the ending I have in mind." I lifted my head, made my voice crack on every syllable. "If it's what you truly want, if it's your last wish, I'll do it." The relief that flashed across his face came too quickly, too bright. For one fraction of a second, the mask slipped and I saw triumph. That was all the confirmation I needed. "Thank you, Bryn," he breathed, pulling me into a hug. "Thank you for loving me enough to let me go." I held him because I had to. My face was over his shoulder, my eyes dry and wide open, fixed on the blank wall of the home we had shared. The grieving, dutiful wife in his arms had just become his most dangerous enemy. The performance continued the moment the lawyer left. Mark's attorney was a slick, narrow man in a too-tight suit named Richard. After he exited our Santa Monica condo, the unsigned divorce papers remained on the glass coffee table between us like a stack of polished blades. Mark sat on the couch, trying to look weak and depleted. I stood by the window with my back to him, staring out at the Pacific while I rehearsed the role I needed to play. "Bryn, please," he said behind me, his voice a masterpiece of strained patience. "Richard is just doing his job. The medical debt clause, it's to protect you." I turned and let him see the tears I had summoned. "Protect me by making me sign away any claim to the life we built? The condo, the investments? You're leaving me with nothing but your bills." He winced and put a hand to his abdomen. His new, unconscious little gesture, The condo was a premarital asset. You know that. And the investments, they're gone, Bryn. Drained by the initial treatments. This way the creditors can only come after my estate, not you. It's the last thing I can give you. A clean slate. A clean slate for you and Chloe, I thought. That name had reached me only hours earlier from Lucas Finch in a short encrypted message. Chloe Dawson, 26. Personal trainer at the exclusive Peak Physique Gym in Brentwood. Her social media was a shrine to kale smoothies, Lululemon, sun-burnished vanity, and in 3 separate photos, the discreet edge of a man's forearm, a hand, a watch I had given Mark for our 3rd anniversary. I crossed the room and sat beside him, letting my shoulders cave inward in apparent defeat. Up close, I could smell the new cologne he had started wearing in recent weeks. Muskier, sharper, more aggressive. Not the citrus and sandalwood scent I had loved for years. I just can't believe this is happening, I whispered. I want to fight for you. For us. And you're just giving up. Asking me to give up. He took my hand. I'm not giving up. I'm setting you free. There's a difference. His thumb rubbed circles against my skin. It felt invasive. I spoke to Dr. Evans today, he said. The new scans, they're not good. The chemo isn't working like we hoped. It's spreading. I let one tear fall. How long? I asked. Months, he said. Maybe, if I'm lucky. Then he looked away with practiced grief. I don't want you to see that, Bryn. I don't want that to be your last memory of me. Hooked to machines, not me. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. He was taking my love and my anticipated grief and sharpening both into weapons against me, painting himself as a martyr, making me the grateful beneficiary of his sacrifice. I leaned my head against his shoulder and hid my face. I hate this. I know, baby, I know. He kissed the top of my head. Signing the papers is the first step for both of us. Toward peace, toward your new life, toward your new wife, I corrected silently. Can I have a few days? I asked, pulling back and widening my eyes just enough. To process? It's so final. A flicker of impatience crossed his face and vanished. He needed this done quickly, before I asked to see real medical records, before I spoke to my own lawyer, before the whole thing began to collapse. Of course, he said, every inch the understanding husband. Take the time you need, but for my own peace of mind, Bryn, soon. The sooner it's done, the sooner I can focus on what little time I have left. He delivered the line with such grave sincerity I almost gagged. Okay, I whispered. Okay, Mark. I spent the next 48 hours doing 2 things. In front of him, I played the grieving, hollowed-out wife, red-rimmed eyes, barely touched meals, long silences at the window. Away from him, I became a general preparing for war. My first call was to Samantha from the parking garage of a Whole Foods. I sat hunched in my car with the doors locked and told her he had finally given me the papers. He's taking on all the debt, I said. I walk away with my personal belongings and my car. That's it. Sam let out a low whistle. That's not just a divorce, Bryn. That's a financial cleansing. He's wiping the slate, including you. Has he even let you see the latest scans? According to him, they're terrible. The chemo's failing. He has months. According to him, she repeated. Have you seen them? No, he says. Dr. Evans shows him on the tablet. He gets emotional. Can't discuss details. Hearing those excuses out loud made them sound as thin as tissue. Absolute garbage, she said. I'm having my paralegal file a formal request for his complete medical records with Cedars and the oncology group right now. HIPAA be damned. As his spouse, you have a right. If they balk or subpoena, won't that tip him off? It might, which is why you need Finch. What's he got? I opened the email Lucas had sent. Her name is Chloe Dawson, personal trainer. They've been seen together at a coffee shop in Brentwood 3 times in the last 2 weeks. Long meetings, lots of touching. He paid cash. Last Friday, he told me he had a long chemo session. Finch has photos of him entering a boutique hotel in Malibu with her at 2 p.m. They left at 6. Sam went silent for 1 beat. A 4-hour chemo session. Must be a fascinating new kind. What about the money? She asked. Any unusual withdrawals? Payments to a Dr. Evans, maybe. Finch is working on it. He needs more time and a bigger retainer to dig into bank records and phone logs. Send it to him, she said, immediately. I'll front it if I have to. Consider it my anniversary gift to the lying bastard." Then she paused and her tone changed. "Bryn, you know what this looks like, right? Fake illness, rush to divorce, mistress. It's a cliché, a disgusting, heartless cliché." Hearing it stated that plainly hit me harder than I expected. "I know. So, what's your play? You are not actually going to sign those papers, are you?" I stared through my windshield at a woman loading groceries into an SUV while her daughter laughed in the back seat. A normal life. The one I had thought I had. "I don't know yet," I said. "I need to be sure. 100% sure. Finch will get you your proof. In the meantime, play the part. The grieving, beautiful, confused wife. But don't sign anything. And get those records." "I will." "And Bryn?" "Yeah? Thank me later. Right now, just let me be the one to serve him with the real papers when the time comes." Despite everything, I laughed once, weakly. My next call was to Lucas Finch. He answered in that low, steady baritone of his. "Miss Coleman, I'm sending the additional retainer now. I need more, Lucas. I need proof. It's a fraud. The medical side. And I need to know how serious it is with the trainer. Is this a fling, or is he planning a future?" "Understood," he said. "The medical angle is harder. Hospitals are locked down, but I have a source who can check appointment logs. If he's not going to the oncology clinic when he says he is, that's a start. As for the girlfriend," I heard the click of a keyboard. Preliminary social media dive shows she's recently listed as in a relationship on Facebook, but the man's profile is private, no photos. Her friends are commenting with ring emojis and heart eyes. She's also pinned several wedding dress ideas and Palm Springs bachelorette party venues on a private Pinterest board called Future Vibes. My blood ran cold. Future Vibes. While I was researching hospice and palliative care, she was choosing chiffon and resorts. "How recent?" I asked. "Created 3 weeks ago, right after his diagnosis." The planning had started almost immediately. "Get me proof of them together," I said. "Undeniable proof. And keep pushing on the medical side." "Watch your back, Miss Coleman," Lucas said. "Men who go to these lengths are desperate. Desperate people do stupid things." I thanked him and ended the call. 2 days later, I told Mark I needed a day to myself to think. "To pray," I said, lowering my eyes for effect. He looked relieved. "Of course. Take all the time you need. I have a support group meeting at the hospital today anyway." Liar, I thought. "You have a noon date with Chloe at a Malibu hotel." I drove north along the coast under a sky so bright it felt mocking. My destination was not a church, but it was the closest thing I had to sacred ground. The small, windswept cemetery in Pacific Palisades, where my mother was buried, Eleanor Vance Remington. Not just my mother, but the only child of Reginald Remington of the Remington Aerospace fortune. Old money, quiet power, ruthless privacy. My mother had run from all of it. She married my middle-class professor, father, took his simpler last name, and built a quiet life. After he died young, she raised me alone, protective, bookish, determined I would grow up normal. The Remington name was almost never spoken. I knelt in the grass before her sleek granite headstone. "Hi, Mom," I whispered. The ocean wind carried the words away. I came there when I was lost, and I had never been more lost. "I think I married Dad," I said, and the words tore their way out of me. Not in the good way. "I think I married a man who's empty, a man who pretended to be real." And then I told her everything. The collapse at dinner, the diagnosis, the sudden push for divorce, the private investigator, Chloe Dawson and her Future Vibes board. "He's faking it, Mom. I know it in my gut. He's faking cancer to get rid of me, and I'm just sitting there pretending I believe him." A sob caught in my throat, but I swallowed it. I was done with performative tears, at least there. This anger was mine. "I'm so stupid. You warned me about charming men. You said the flashy ones are all surface. But Mark, he seemed solid. He seemed real." I traced the carved letters of her name with my fingertips. What do I do? If I confront him, he'll deny everything. If I sign, he wins. He gets his fresh start with his fitness Barbie, and I'm left with nothing but credit card debt from buying his fake palliative care supplies. Then, like a cold wave breaking over me, I remembered the one thing Mark did not know: the trust. When my mother died 5 years earlier, just before I met Mark, her attorney Emily Thorne had explained it all in a hushed office and a tone that allowed no misunderstanding. The Remington family trust contained a separate sub-trust for me. The principal was enormous. The clause attached to it was simple and ironclad. I could not access a single penny of the principal, more than $200 million, while I was married. The income could be distributed modestly, but the true fortress of wealth opened only to one person, me, unmarried. It had been my grandmother's condition after her own disastrous marriages. My mother had hated it, but she could not undo it. The money was meant to be my freedom, my last line of safety, but only if I stood completely alone. That was why I had never told Mark. At first, I wanted him to love me, not my family name. Later, when things between us grew stale in ways I did not want to face, the secret became something else, a quiet escape hatch. My own private insurance against disaster. I had just never imagined I would need it like this. Mark believed he was discarding a wife with no leverage, no family backing, no fortune. He thought he was throwing me out into the world with my clothes, my car, and my grief. He had no idea that by forcing me out, by severing our marriage, he was unlocking a vault. A slow, icy calm spread through me. He wanted a divorce. Fine. He wanted to play the tragic, dying hero. Excellent. I would give him the performance of a lifetime. I would be the heartbroken, gullible wife. I would sign his papers. I would let him think he had won. I would let him run free into the arms of his mistress, flush with relief and self-congratulation. And the moment the divorce became final, the moment I was legally alone, I would inherit the fortune he had unknowingly handed back to me. It was not revenge. Not exactly. It was consequence. It was letting him build his fantasy, card by card, then calmly removing the one piece he had never seen. Me. I stood up and brushed the grass from my knees. "Okay, Mom," I said. "I promise. I'll use it for my freedom. But first, I'm going to let him dig his own grave." By the time I drove back to Santa Monica, serenity was moving through me like clean electricity. I was no longer scrambling for proof in a panic. I was laying silk threads for a trap. When I walked into the condo, Mark was waiting. He looked tired, but underneath that, I could see it now. Satisfaction. He had had a good day. "How was your day?" he asked. I let my eyes fill instantly. I let my lower lip tremble. "It was hard," I whispered, "but I did a lot of thinking." Then I met his gaze and delivered the line that changed everything. "You're right, Mark. If this is what you need, if this is your last wish, I'll do it. I'll sign the papers." The relief that flooded his face was almost comic in its intensity. He tried to cover it, to put grief back over it like a sheet, but I had already seen too much. "Oh, Bryn," he said softly. "Thank you. You don't know what this means to me, to know you'll be okay." I walked to the coffee table, picked up the pen, and without reading another word, signed every line he had highlighted. Bryn Lillian Vance Coleman. The signature of my old life. A single real tear fell onto the paper and blurred the ink just slightly. A nice touch. "It's done," I whispered. He wrapped me in his arms. I let him. I breathed in the chlorine from the hotel pool, still clinging faintly to him beneath the cologne. He had probably come straight from her. "It's for the best," he murmured, and I could hear the smile hidden in his voice. "You'll see. This is the beginning of your new life." Yes, I thought. Yes, it is. The formal signing was set for 10 o'clock the next morning. Richard would bring a notary. Mark would stage his final tragic act, and I would play mine. I dressed in soft jeans and one of Mark's old sweaters, the one that still smelled like the version of him I had once loved. No makeup, hair loose. I needed to look washed out, fragile, defeated. When I entered the living room, he was already positioned on the couch like an actor waiting for a cue. He had made himself paler, I suspected, with a little powder. A knitted throw blanket was draped across his legs, even though it was 72 degrees and sunny. There was a glass of water and a bottle of Tylenol on the table beside the stack of documents. Theatrics. "Hey," I said in a thin voice. "Hey," he replied just as weakly. "You ready for this?" I shook my head and let my eyes brim. "No, I'll never be ready." He patted the cushion beside him. I sat, careful not to touch him. "Where's Richard?" "On his way. He's bringing a notary to make it official." He took my hand. "I know this feels like the end of the world, Bryn, but it's a beginning for you." "It's the end of our world, Mark," I said quietly. "That's all that matters to me." He squeezed my hand. "You're so strong." You'll get through this. The doorbell rang. Showtime. Richard entered. All solemnity and briefcase clicks, followed by a mousy woman carrying a notary stamp. Richard's eyes flicked toward me. There might have been pity there, or maybe only discomfort. He knew the terms. He had to know how grotesquely unfair they were. But he was being paid, and paid men learn quickly how not to look too closely. "I'm sorry we have to meet under these circumstances," he said. I only nodded, mute with grief. He opened his briefcase and began reciting the terms in the language of legal dismemberment. Mark, as sole title holder of the marital residence and primary account holder on the investments and savings vehicles, would assume 100% of the marital debt, including all current and anticipated medical liabilities. In exchange, I waived all future claims to said assets and any potential spousal support. I retained my personal belongings, my vehicle, and my individual bank accounts. The grounds were listed as irreconcilable differences. What a bloodless phrase for such a monstrous lie. Then he slid the thickest document toward me. The divorce petition. The settlement agreement. Yellow highlights marked every place my signature would sever me from the life I had built. I looked down and saw the numbers. The condo valued at $2.3 million. Solely his. The retirement accounts, the stock portfolio, the joint savings, all his. The credit card debt, the looming shadow of medical bills. All mine, until his supposed assumption of them. I looked at Mark and let devastation bloom across my face. "Is there any other way?" I asked. "Can't we just wait?" His face folded into a perfect pantomime of anguish. "Every day I get weaker, Bryn. I can't carry the guilt of tying you to this. Please, let me do this one last thing for you. Set you free." Then he coughed. Dry, convincing, almost impressive. The notary shifted uncomfortably. Richard looked down at his pen. I lowered my gaze to the page and let one tear fall beside the signature line. "Okay," I whispered. I took the pen. "Do you want to read it one last time?" Mark asked, the considerate dying husband giving me a final out. Testing me. I shook my head. "If I read it, I won't be able to do it," I said. "This is what you want. That's all that matters." Then I signed. Bryn Lillian Vance Coleman. Page after page, initial after initial. Signature after signature. Each stroke of the pen felt like a nail sealing the coffin of our marriage and, at the same time, a beam going into the trap I was building for him. When it was done, I let the pen clatter onto the table and put my face in my hands. My shoulders shook with sobs that were not entirely fake. I was mourning something. Not him. Not really. I was mourning the man I had believed he was. The future I had once trusted. The waste of 5 years. Mark put a hand on my back. "It's over," he murmured. And the relief in his voice was so naked it almost split me open. The notary stamped the documents. Richard gathered everything into his briefcase with efficient finality. "I'll file these with the court today," he said. "Given the circumstances, I'll request an expedited hearing. The judge will likely grant it. You could be legally divorced in as little as a few weeks."